On this episode of mySURFtv, we chat with big wave charger and surf travel expert David Scard as he takes us on a guided tour to the best surfing destinations on the planet, from the Mentawais to Micronesia, Fiji and the Maldives. G'day, I'm Ronnie Blakey. Welcome to this special World Safaris edition of the show. I'm joined by renowned surf traveller and big wave charger David Scard. Scardy, thanks for coming on the show, mate.
Good to see you, Ronnie.
Now, you've been travelling the world, surfing the best waves the planet has to serve up for a number of years, working as a guide, firstly, over there in G-Land for a number of years.
Yeah, well, that's where I guess the dream started, and I met so many people over there during that time and was able to make contacts around the world and yeah, travel the world with, meeting friends. It's good.
Beautiful, and you've put all that knowledge that you have now into your current position with World Safaris.
Yeah, that's sort of evolved into this position, and I'm very fortunate, and I get to travel a bit as well, and yeah, that's a good bonus.
That's a song you made.
Now, there has been some perks for you in your role. You've actually been able to capitalise on some pretty memorable swells. Tell us about Fiji a couple of years back.
After you have kids and stuff, you try and shorten your trips and go on swells and things, and I'd actually never been there, and the very first big swell that came along, then yeah, we were on it, so we charged over there, and it was a little bit bigger than we thought it was going to be, but we gave it a crack. Boys were back on the boat saying, oh, this could be like a XXL award wave, and I'm like, oh, what's that kind of thing, and that filled me in, and the next thing I was on a plane going to America. It was an amazing ride.
Well, Scardy, you've had that memorable XXL swell, but they're not the only big waves that you've scored over there in Fiji these past few years.
The next year was just as crazy, but the conditions were even better. Not a drop of water out of place. The whole international big wave crew were there, and it was a little bit different sort of feel in the lineup, but yeah, I actually broke my ribs on my second wave and had to pretty much sit and watch that, which was more painful than the ribs, but it was good to see the boys get some of the best waves of their life, including Hippo. He got XXL nomination that year too.
That was amazing. His barrel was just so thrilling, and also considering the size of the equipment that he was riding that day.
Yeah, we were always having that conversation before we go, how big a board do I need? And he still showed up with a 610, so I was like, well, what you got's what you got. So yeah, he did the job, like, just got to get right under the thing on the small boards.
What's it like in that situation when they've just had the wave of their life, when they come back to the boat and you're kind of explaining to them what you saw?
Everyone feeds off it. Like, it's almost like you've had that wave as well. Like, there's that much energy and buzz going on. Yeah, it's amazing.
Today you're going to be taking us through some of the surf spots that people have to cross off their bucket list as surfers. What's the first place we're going to check out?
First place we're going to check out is the Coral Coast, because Coral Coast is somewhere that people don't initially think of when they think of Fiji.
So you yourself went exploring over there and found some different reef passes?
Yeah, we did. We went down, took young Jackson coffee, and so we went down to Matnavusi Resort and had a fantastic stay down there with Brian and Donna. Amazing resort, and they got two really good waves right in front of the resort. You got Jays on one side and Fiji Pipe on the other side, which is just like a cross between Bingen and Padang or something like that. It's just a real little slabby left. We got that really fun. Outside of those breaks, the offshore reef frigates, it picks up a lot more swell, and it's very similar to Cloudbreak style wave. And yeah, we got that pumping as well.
I guess the great thing for Australian surf travellers is just how close Fiji is Generally, what's the best route to get there, and how long does it take?
Yeah, it's only a short flight from all capital cities on the East Coast, so it is really an easy place, and it's very safe for families, and it's quite cheap to go there, and it's a no-brainer going to Fiji.
We have seen some pretty monster swells in Fiji at recent times. For surfers like me who want to get a couple of sets but don't want to have the life scared out of them, is there good high performance waves there as well?
Absolutely, yeah. It's not all about Cloudbreak and all about frigates and the bigger waves. There's fun waves for everyone there.
Well, stay with us, because after the break we're going to have more talk with Scardy, and we're heading over to check out Indonesia and the Mentawai Islands. Welcome back to the show. We're still joined by Dave Scard, and it's now time to have a look at the Mentawai Islands. Scardy, tell us a little bit about the Ments, when it was discovered, how it came about, and just the evolution of this place as a very popular surf destination.
Yeah, look, I think we've got a lot to be thankful for the early pioneers, like guys running the boats in the early days, like Martin Daly, Tony Etherington, Matt Cruden, guys like that. You know, they were the guys out there finding all these waves, mapping it out, and you know, if it wasn't for them, then perhaps we wouldn't, you know, have all of these fantastic opportunities. It really is still a remote part of the world, although, you know, it can get busy with surfers, but the people still doing what they used to do thousands of years ago, and that can be evidently seen as a tourist. You can see it firsthand. It's amazing.
It is incredible. Now let's start talking about some of the locations that people can visit. There's some really famous spots up in the Mentawais, and then there's some other new resorts up that way that are really giving surfers the opportunity to check out some new locations.
There's a complete smorgasbord of A-class, perfect waves up there. Like, it really is amazing natural phenomena. Sumatra is a big part of the Indonesian archipelago, and the offshore islands, you know, sort of starting in the Mentawais, is quite broad. And north of the Mentawais, you have the Tello Islands, which is just a little bit tucked away, not quite as in the full brunt of the swell. That part only sort of more recently discovered over the past sort of 10 to 15 years, being land camps popping up and boats going there more regularly. And the waves there are a little less punchy and you know, a bit more sort of user-friendly in some cases. Then you got Nias, which is a very famous island and surf break there at Lagundri.
And what are some of the new ones on the scene that are becoming popular?
You got Kandui, which is an amazing hand-built resort. It was one of the first there. On that island itself, you've got no Kandui left and rifles, so you know, they are two pretty heavy-hitting waves, but to have those, you know, on your own island it's pretty amazing. And then, you know, from there you got a big array of surf. You're always dealing with winds and tides and swell directions, and it's just a labyrinth of different conditions that, you know, the local surf guides have got their head around, so you don't have to worry about it.
I've heard a lot of people say that they've had the barrel of their life at No Kanduis over the years. There's been some unbelievable sessions.
Oh, definitely. There's guys that chase that wave, and I can see why. And then there's guys that probably get in there and go, I don't really know what I'm doing here. It's probably the wrong place to be.
I haven't heard much about Kingfisher as a location. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's located on the southern end of Sapora. Cartiet is the area. It's right in front of Lance's Left, probably one of the more consistent waves in the Mentawais. And then across the bay you've got Bintangs, which is a really sick little right-hander. Around the corner you've got HTs, which is another, you know, well-known, famous wave. Most of these places have, you know, so many options for waves, it's actually a bit ridiculous.
Where would the Ments rate for you as a location or surf trip?
For an advanced surfer, I think it would be right up there, number one, probably, for consistency and size, power, perfection.
And how reliable is the location for delivering on people's dreams
I think if you get skunked in the Ments, you must have stepped on a leprechaun or something.
We know the Mentawais is one of the most consistent locations in the world, but there is obviously a peak season when it comes to swell. What's the best time of year for people to travel?
If you're an intermediate surfer, you can go there in the off season, November through till April, and have the best waves of your life. If you want a trip where it's going to be sort of 4 to 6 foot, most days with potential of getting proper 8-foot bombs, back-to-back swells, then you kind of want to look at your May till September.
Got to book myself another ticket to the Ments. Well, stay with us because after the break, we're going to check out the wave-rich coasts of Micronesia and the Maldives. And don't forget, everything you've seen on today's show and plenty more can be viewed online 24/7 at mySURFtv. Welcome back to the show. It's time to check out a destination that I haven't been to myself, but I'm going to get the full rundown from Scardy, who's still with us. Scardy, we're going to check out the Maldives. A beautiful location, picturesque. What kind of waves can surfers expect there?
Oh, well, I guess, put an analogy, if Mentawais was the smorgasbord, then Maldives is the lolly shop, because the waves there are just so perfect. The swell travels a bit further to get to the Maldives, so it's a little bit more perfect and ruler-edged, and it's an amazing spot.
We'll touch more on the waves in a moment, but just tell us a little bit about the Maldives, how it was discovered.
There's actually 2 Aussie fellas, Tony Hussein Hine and Mark Scanlon, who were shipwrecked there, and they actually kept it quite undercover for many, many years, just surfing with them and their mates. It wasn't really until, the mid-90s that, sort of surf tourism really started there. And it's really developed into something that is a big business.
A really different experience from the islands of Indonesia. Culturally, you're eating different food. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I guess there's so much influence there from the Indian and Sri Lankan culture. And the people there, they're very welcoming, and the whole island chain is just amazing itself. There's 1,200 islands there. Only 200 of those are inhabited by local Maldivians. Not one of them's a metre over sea level.
What is the best wave in the zone? What's the one spot that you just have to surf if you head up that way?
I think Lowies, because I'm a goofy footer. It's a really fun wave, and it barrels too, so that ticks a lot of boxes for me.
What's the best time of year to travel to the Maldives?
Really from April through till September, October, and then into November, but that's really for the North Mallee season, and then the outer atolls, which is right down the southern end of the Maldives, has more of an all-round season.
Scardy, what's the best place you can stay at when you head over there? Is there a couple that people can check out?
Yeah, for sure. There's lots, but I guess my favourite would be Hootaran Fushi Resort, which is in North Mallee. Super consistent wave lowies, we mentioned, right at your doorstep. And then you've got 2 waves to the north and 3 waves to the south within a 30-minute boat ride. I just don't know how it gets much better than that, really.
Unbelievable. Definitely, it just looks like the setup in the Maldives, the resort, staying over the water, just looks like one of the dreamiest surf locations that you could tap into.
Absolutely. It's a bucket list trip for a lot of surfers, and it caters for a wide range of people, from intermediate surfers with partners to young guys who want to jump on a boat trip and go and actually look for waves, because there's still unsurfed waves there.
Now, Scardy, I guess the best thing about the Maldives is it's kind of an exclusive surf trip. You can't just lob up and hang out there. You've got to have a real plan, and World Safaris can help people get that plan together.
Yeah, it's different to most places where you can just go and and figure it out as you go, you know, like we all like to do sometimes, but the Maldives is different. You have to have, you know, a booking in a resort or a boat because there's really nowhere to go once you get off the plane. It's you're getting on a boat to go somewhere, and if you haven't got anything booked, then you're pretty much going to get on the next plane out of there.
You're out of luck. Mate, we've talked about the surfing. Obviously, that's a big priority for us, but it's not the only activity that people can get up to over there.
The water clarity there is like second to none, and it's number one a dive destination before surfing really came in the picture. So the diving and snorkeling is next level.
I'm going. That's all there is to it. Stay with us because after the break, we're heading over to Micronesia to check out P-Pass. Welcome back to the show. Ronnie Blakey here, still joined by David Scard, and we're checking out a place that is a little less known, Micronesia. It's certainly exploded onto the scene the last couple of years.
It has exploded onto the scene over the past 10 years. It was actually 2004 the camp opened, and I actually was lucky enough to help Alois Malfitani set up that camp, and we were very fortunate to have amazing surf there for our first couple of trips, and next thing it was everyone wanted to go there. I don't know why, it was just this perfect right-hander and it was just amazing. It's an amazing island itself, Pohnpei. It's a perfectly round island with a fringing barrier reef similar to Tahiti. Quite a big lagoon, and there's several reef passes all the way around facing different swell directions and wind directions. You know, at times you do get waves on these various passes. However, I always say once you surf P-Pass, you're probably not going to be too worried about surfing the other waves, but they are good.
And some of the world's best surfers have really started to tap into the magic there. Tyler Wright really fine-tuning her big wave surfing, getting severely barreled with her big brother Owen. Also Laura Annova charging P-Pass for a couple of years now.
I've been lucky enough to go on quite a few trips with a lot of the great surfers, and I was on that trip with Tyler and Owen, and that was quite a spectacle. I've seen a girl really pull into big barrels, and I guess when it is big like that, it's not just an in and out barrel. You've got to have a bit of technique to get the job done, and she really nailed it.
Tell us about getting to Micronesia and getting a taste of P-Pass.
I used to be quite a mission, but it has gotten a lot easier just more recently. This year, in fact, Air New Guinea started flights from Brisbane and Sydney.
P-Pass can be big, holds a lot of swell, definitely has some power, but the smaller days are really fun out there.
People always say to me, oh, I don't want to go there when it's big, but I say, well, we actually do, because not only are you going to probably see some of the best waves you've ever seen on the peak of the swell, but you're going to get the run up and you're going to get the run down of the swell. So that can last for 3 days, and generally it's in that sort of 2 to 4 feet, user-friendly, happy days.
Give us a paddle in, take off, run down to kick out of what this wave serves you when you're paddling.
Oh, look, once it gets to size, once it gets to 6 foot, it doesn't really get much higher. It gets thicker, kind of a bit of a chopu feel. So the drop can be pretty steep, and once you've pretty much made that drop, you're just setting up for the barrel, and that barrel can have 2 to 3 sections, and the last bit can sometimes have a bit of a wobble on it on the low tide, but generally it's just gaping open for you to get spat out the other end.
Beautiful. Best time of year to check it out?
Look, it can happen any time from October through till April. This particular season we're in right now has just been back-to-back with swells for the last 6 weeks.
Amazing. And you've tapped into a number of those swells yourself, and we're going to see some vision now of David Scard tackling P-Pass. Unbelievable vision, Scardy. Mate, thank you for coming on the show.
Pleasure.
How can people book their next surf trip?
Yeah, well, jump online and check out worldsafaris.com. No problem.
Easy as that. All right, well, don't forget, everything you've seen on today's show and plenty more can be viewed online 24/7 at mysurf.tv. I'm Ronnie Blakey. We'll see you next time. mySURFtv is powered by Surfing Australia and Nudie.